All right, guys, I've got some bad news. In the year 2151, the Earth is going to explode. But the good news is, before it explodes, we send out a fleet of ships to find a new home for humanity.
Yeah.
The bad news is the ship also explodes.
Oh. This is the Solus Project.
Better have a look around and see if anyone or anything made it. Oh my God. I'll find a way to get this back to you. Our lives, your lives, depend on it. Scan out.
The Solus Project begins with you waking up from stasis on a beach, surrounded by the rubble of your former spaceship. You'll also discover your astronaut buddy also crash-landed on the planet, but unfortunately he hasn't fared so well. However, he was building a communications tower to try and send out a help signal. So now that's your job.
The only problem is that these communication parts are scattered across a few islands, and you're starting to get hungry.
Yeah, this is actually a survival game, and as such you are required to constantly make a series of life or death decisions.
You'll need to manage hunger, thirst, hypothermia, heat stroke, sleep. All the classic survival game tropes are here, and they're all just as annoying as they've always been. You land, you light a torch, it starts raining, the sun goes down, hypothermia sets in, a tornado arrives, you walk slowly into the ocean to die.
Yes, but a big difference for the Solus Project is that it's also a single-player narrative adventure. You don't really build up a camp where you're safe. You have to keep moving forward or you're going to run out of supplies and die. And by forward, we mean go down, way down. You may have started the game as an astronaut, but you're going to end it as a spelunker, as the majority of the game is set in caves beneath the surface of the planet.
Yes, they certainly are creepy. And since I'm sitting in Bajo's chair, I am contractually obligated to talk about the graphics. The textures are not the sharpest I've seen, but I do like the art design, and it all looks very nice lit by your flaming torch.
Yeah, I liked it too, but by the end of the game I feel like I'd seen a lot of places that looked pretty similar. Brown, rocky, damp, everything was just a little bit...
Cavey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I suppose the caves did provide a nice atmosphere, with dripping water, whistling wind, weird creaking noises, and every now and again planet rattling shudders for some terrifying reason.
Yeah, there really is a sense of claustrophobia in this game that's very oppressive. You are so aware of the weight of the planet above you as you dive deeper into these caves.
I know I need to find a power source for the comms tower.
I really felt trapped while I was playing the game, like I was actually a prisoner in this alien Earth's core.
Yeah, the game does a really good job of highlighting how alone you are.
Yeah, except for when your Siri won't shut up.
Warning. Operator cold and wet. Temperature dropping. Warning. Operator health levels low. Warning. Operator cold and wet.
I get it! I'm cold! You're making everything worse.
Yeah, she was annoyingly informative at times. The game also supports VR, so you can hook up your Vive and enjoy room-scale cave exploring.
Yeah, but there's no way I want to play this game in VR. Not because it's jump scary, it's just profoundly uneasy. I could not cope with the idea that I was surrounded by these wet walls and bubbling lakes of acid.
Yeah, especially since as you get further into the game, you discover you're not the first species there. Alien writing and markers are scattered everywhere, and strange, imposing structures often block your progress.
I do think they've handled the aliens well here. You never really see them that much, but you just are always aware of their presence. Something horrible has already happened to the species on this planet. You know something is wrong, you just don't know what it is.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Myst.
It's very misty.
It's Myst-esque, but there's a lot more story here than Myst. There are a lot of secrets to find, documents to read, lots of stories about the Sky Ones.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of the way the story is told. It's well written and it's interesting, but it just feels like clunky storytelling to have to hunt down pages of journals scattered across a landscape. For someone who should be terrified of being alone on this alien planet, I sure did spend a lot of time looking at pieces of paper on the floor.
Yeah, and what's with the translator? I mean, we've figured out intergalactic space travel, but we need to wait for Google Translate to brute force convert this alien text every time I read it. I mean, they mentioned the sky ones about 200 times. Why doesn't my space phone just add it to the dictionary? Not to mention the fact that I have an app on my phone right now that translates text in real time. Like, that technology exists today.
We've clearly gone backwards. But I do really like the environmental puzzles in the game. Not too difficult, but some nice brain scratchers in there. Lots of them involve this short-range teleporter you find early on, and that's a lot of fun to use. So how do you feel about the mix of survival game and sort of narrative single player?
I think I like the idea of it more than the reality. It just ended up being more frustrating than challenging.
Yeah, because the fun behind survival games is it's kind of how long can I last and what sort of cool stuff can I craft. But for Solus, the fun is uncovering the plot, which means exploring as much as you can to find story and new locations and those important tower parts. But the constant threat of hypothermia or starving to death or dehydration would just discourage me from exploring. I mean, I can't go read that alien stone down the end of the hallway. I'm dying of thirst.
Yeah, it does hamper the fun a lot, doesn't it? Plus, there are just these big stretches of the game where nothing really happens. You just have to walk forward to the next waypoint while slowly dying. There's one section where you need to activate those beacons. There's always beacons. That was 10 minutes of walking in a big circle for 1 minute of puzzle solving. And there's a lot of backtracking too. It feels like even though the world is big, it's just not dense. It becomes apparent that these long stretches are designed to artificially ratchet up tension by just running your stats to the ground.
Yeah, and there are a few areas in the game where because of a series of events, it meant I could not complete a section, so I had to restart the entire game. So I lost about 4 hours of progress, which really sucks.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? Most survival games, you don't really mind dying because it's all just part of the learning, and next time it's all going to be different anyway. But with this, it all just stays the same. Everything is in the same spot, plot points are the same, so really you're just restarting a single player game, which isn't fun at all.
So, Hex, hand us your verdict.
Well, I think story-wise, there was a lot of mystery at the start, but then you could kind of predict the ending a mile off. The first plot twist that pops into your head while playing is almost certainly what actually happens at the end of the game. But the atmosphere and the world building were great, and I felt vulnerable throughout the entire game, which can be really tough to nail, so I'm giving it 2.5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's really interesting that one of the biggest selling points for this game, which is the combination of story and survival games, is also kind of one of its biggest weaknesses for me. But I do admire the fact that it committed to the idea of making me feel like I'm actually dying on an alien planet, so for that, I'm giving it 3.5.
I need to keep going. I'll see if I can find a way to link with the satellite and submit my data. Scan out.